Hello guys, welcome back to the series Mastering Docker 2025 from developer to production. In the previous videos, we have seen how we can containerize static page applications. That is, we saw how we can containerize a single static page file, and also we have seen how we can containerize multi-page static HTML files using Nginx through Docker. But in today's video, we will see how we can containerize different frameworks using Docker. In today's video, we will see how we can containerize the world-renowned front-end framework Next.js using Docker. So let's containerize our very first static Next.js application. So first, I will open my Visual Studio Code, and here I'll open the directories. Now, here I'll create my very first Next.js application using Next.js CLI. So to install my Next.js application, I will execute the Next.js CLI, that is npx create next app at latest, and I'll hit enter. And the name of my project is, I'll just keep it as Next.js Docker. Then I want to use TypeScript. Then I'll be using ESLint. If you want, you can use Biome too. Then still yes. Here I'll keep everything as default, and I'll install it. So let us wait for the installation. Yes, our Next.js app is successfully installed and it is present in this directory. Now let's start to containerize our application. Now here in this directory, I'll create a file called as Dockerfile. In the previous video, I told that Dockerfile is a special type of file which doesn't have any extension. So I'll just name it the file as Dockerfile and I'll hit enter. And also I'll create one more file called as .dockerignore. So this file is necessary to ignore all the unwanted files within our container. So the first thing is that we need to define a Docker file. So for that, first we need to define what is the work environment we will be using. So I'll be using Node.js environment. So I'll write from Node 24, which is the latest version, and I'll be using Alpine, or I can do it like this, 24 Alpine. And I will specify the work directory I want to work. So work dir, that is /app. And then I will copy the package.json. I will copy pack JSON into the root directory. Then I will run npm cap. So this will install all the dev dependencies and production dependencies within my container. Then I will copy the entire repo. That is, I will copy everything that is present inside my current directory into the container directory, that is inside /app. Then I will write a command to expose the port. So I am exposing my application or my container at port 3000. Then I will specify what is the command that I want to execute. So I'll be using node command, and here I'll write .next/standalone.server.js, because this is the build file that is available after we create a build image. So after this, I'll go to next.config.ts, and here I will define my config, that is output as standalone. So this will help me to containerize my application and run it on port 3000 inside my container. Next, I'll define the Docker ignore file. So what are the files I need to ignore inside my Docker container? The first thing is the README file. The first thing is the node modules. Then I'll be ignoring the npm debug modules, debug logs, then the .next, the build file, ds stores. I'll be ignoring .git ignore. Then I'll be ignoring the README file. Then I'll be ignoring the Dockerfile because I don't need the Dockerfile inside my container. Then I ignore the next.config.ts. Then I'll ignore the Docker ignore file. Then I ignore the env files .env.local, and also I'll use a regular expression that is star, which will ignore all the env files with their preceding characters. Yes. So what will this do is when I run the build command, my container will ignore all these files inside it. So that's it. We have defined our Docker file and we have defined our config. Now we'll start to spin up a container. So before we spin up the container, first we need to build the image. So I will build the image first. First, I will in the terminal, I'll navigate into my directory that is Next.js, Next app. Then here I'll write Podman build minus t, and I'll name the image as Next.js App, and I'll specify the path of the Docker file, that is the current directory, and I'll hit enter. You can see the container building. Okay, it's showing error. So what is the error? Okay, the error says that we need to have package lock.json, but here in the Docker file we have not specified a package lock. So what I'll be doing is I'll be just putting star here. So it will copy both package.json and the package lock.json. Now I'll just rebuild my image. Make sure that you're saving your file. I have kept in autosave, so I'm not saving manually. Automatically it gets saved. So ensure that you have saved your files and then hit enter. Yes. Now we have successfully built our image. Now let us run the image. To run the image, I will be writing the command podman run minus p, and I'll specify the port. Minus p stands for port, which I have mentioned in the previous video. So here I'll specify the port. So my container port is 3000, and in the browser I want to expose my container port to port 3000. And image what I want to run is Next.js app. So that's the image what I'm using, and then I'll hit enter. Okay, now we are getting the error. What is saying cannot find module standalone server.js. Okay, now why are we getting this issue? Because here my application is searching for a file called as server.js. Server.js is a file which is created when I'm building my application. That is, when I run npm run build, it will create a dist folder inside which will have our server.js file. So in the Docker file, we have copied the files, but before exposing, we need to run npm run build. So this will run the build command inside the container, which creates the server.js file, and then that server.js file is used to run our application. Now I'll just rebuild my application. Build is successful. Now I'll try to start the server. So the server is starting successfully. Now I will open localhost 3000 to see whether my Nest application is visible or not. So I'll open the browser. So I'll come here. Okay, so I can see the page, but we can see the asset files are not being loaded. So again, sometimes this might work and sometimes this might not work. The reason is because since we're using a standalone approach in our next config, it will always ignore all your assets. Basically, what it does is it is spinning up a minimalistic server that doesn't include all the asset files. So to fix that error, we need to copy a few of the asset files into a container. So we'll come back to our Dockerfile, and here we'll, after the build command, what we'll be doing is we'll copy some of the asset files. That is, first we are running a command. So here I'll run a copy command cp minus r, that is recursive. There I'll go to dot next slash static, which includes all the static files, and then I'll copy that file into standalone.static. Dot next slash, then I'll put 2 greater than dev or none. So this is again a conditional statement. What I'm doing is if it is available, then push it. Next, I'll run another run command, that is cp minus r. Here I'll copy the public files and dot standalone to public. Now let me close the server. I'll go check the running containers, that is podman ps. Okay, no images are running. Okay, now let me rebuild the image. Yes, the image is built successfully. Now I'll spin up the container. I'll come to my browser. I'll try to refresh. Yes. Now you can see the asset files has been read in the browser. So this is how you can containerize your Next.js application using Docker. We have just containerized static Next.js application. Next, we'll see how we can containerize React and white-based applications using Docker. And in the future videos, we'll see how we can containerize a full stack application using Docker, and also we'll see how we can containerize multiple frameworks into one container and execute it. So that's it, guys. This is how you can containerize your Next.js application. So stay tuned for the upcoming videos. Thank you.